The Tool Script Manager control offers no additional functionality beyond this ability to combine scripts. The features that I'm going to discuss now are purely performance enhancements. They will save you a little bandwidth for your page and also help you understand how some of the JavaScript is served from the controls in the AJAX Control Toolkit. In addition to the properties that derive from Script Manager, the Tool Script Manager control adds to properties, specifically Combined Scripts and Combined Scripts Handler URL. Combined Scripts is a Boolean value that notifies the Tool Script Manager whether it should try to combine the scripts. The Combined Scripts Handler URL is optional, but it's important because it eliminates the normal overhead of the page lifecycle associated with ASP.NET pages. So let's take a look at how this control works. In this example, I'm going to use an Update Panel Animation Extender control, which is a control in the toolkit that makes it convenient to add visual transitions and other animation effects to an update panel. The control uses several JavaScript files, so it's a good choice for demonstrating how to combine scripts with the Tool Script Manager. All right, I'm going to come over here. I have my sample application open, and I'm going to create a new web form. And I selected the wrong item in Solution Explorer. I need to select the project. Add item. Okay, great. Now I have different web items. So I'm going to create a new web form. And I'll name it Animation. And I'll switch over to Design View. As usual, I need to first add a Script Manager control, because in this first incarnation of the page, I'm going to show how Script Manager control downloads files. And then a little bit later, we'll look at the Toolkit Script Manager. All right, next thing I'm going to do is add an Update Panel control. And within that control, I'm just going to add some text. It'll be kind of boring, but I'm going to add line 1, line 2, and so forth. And I'll do a little bit of copying and pasting to speed things up here. I just want a bunch of lines of text to make it a little bit more evident what the animation control is doing. So I'll add 10 altogether. All right, so now we have an update panel that has some text content. All right, I'll hit enter one more time, and I'll add a regular button to the form. And then finally, I'll add a label. All right, so there's all the contents of the update panel. I'm going to select the update panel there. And I'll use the Control Smart tag in order to add an extender. That opens up the extender wizard. And I'm going to scroll over here and select the Update Panel Animation Extender. I'll go ahead and accept the default ID and click on OK. And that now adds the extender to the page. I'll select the button control, go over to the Properties window, and change the text of the button to say Update Time. And then I need to add some code behind this. So I'll double-click the button in order to open up the animation.aspx.cs file. First thing I want to do is put the thread to sleep for a couple seconds so we can see what's happening. So I'll use system threading.thread.sleep and set it to sleep for 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds. And then I want to update the text of that label control in order to display the time. And I'll give it a specific format. All right, I'll save my work so far and switch back over to the web form. And I'll switch over to Source View. And here's the Update Panel Animation Extender. So as you can see, it's fairly straightforward. It has the ID that I accepted within the wizard. It's a server-side control, it's enabled, and it's going to target the Update Panel 1 control. Now what I need to do is define the animation sequences. So within this Update Panel Animation Extender, I need to add an Animations control. And then within that, I need to do a couple things. First, I need to add an onUpdating. OnUpdating is going to fire before the update panel makes its call to the server for an update, so before my server-side code executes. So I need to define a sequence. And what I want to do is have the contents of the update panel fade out. This is just defining the different instructions that are going to occur in response to different effects. All right, that's all I need to do for onUpdating. The other one that I need to add is onUpdated. And what onUpdated does is it executes after the update panel receives the response from the server. In this case, I need to add another sequence. And I'll just use a fade in. And there's various other options that you can use in order to define the animations for this extender. I'll save my work. And let's take a look at what we have so far. So I'll view it in the browser. And there's our initial user interface. I'll click the Update Time button. Notice that it fades out, and then it fades back in, and it's updated that label with the current time. So that's the effect of the Update Panel Extender. All right, so that's yet another control in the toolkit that's really useful. But let's take a look at the page source behind this page. So this shows, of course, the actual HTML that was sent down to the browser. So what I'm going to do is select Control F and enter search criteria of script, if I can spell it right, script resource.axd. And I'll scroll down. So as you can see, in order to support the update panel and the update panel animation control, the server had to send down to the browser a number of JavaScript files. And these are represented by the script resource.axd. And the AXD just means that these were dynamically generated for this particular page. The problem here is that for every one of these script files, the browser is going to need to make a request to the server. And because most browsers are limited to only using one or two channels in order to download resources used by a web page, this can take a significant amount of time, even for files that are relatively small. And of course, there's really no way, well, without looking at the actual data that's being passed from the server, but just looking at the view source page, there's really no way to know how big each of these are. So that's a problem that can affect the performance of your page. So let's see how the ToolScript Manager control is able to resolve the problem. All right, so I'll go ahead and close the browser, the view source, and the browser window. And now what we're going to do is modify this page to use a ToolScript Manager control instead. So I'll go back over to Design View and click over to the right of the Script Manager. And I'll go to the Toolbox and down to the AJAX Control Toolkit and select a ToolScript Manager control and drop it onto the page. Now, we can't have two Script Manager or controls derived from Script Manager. We can't have two of them on a page. So I'm going to select the old Script Manager and press the Delete key. All right. So I'll go over to the Properties window after I select the control, and I want to configure the control. So I'm going to come down here to the Combine Scripts property and make sure that that's set to true. And that's the default value, but this is the property that's going to control whether or not those script files are combined into one or fewer files. I also want to supply a value for the Combine Scripts Handler URL. And I'll set that equal to scriptserver.ashx and hit enter. Now setting this property is optional, and it's not required for the rest of the sample to work. But if a handler URL is not provided, then the Tool Script Manager is going to load the scripts from the page that is currently running, using the query string parameters to load the proper scripts. Technically, this works fine, but it creates additional unnecessary overhead in processing because the page is loaded again. Using a handler is going to eliminate that kind of overhead. That's kind of an esoteric detail. But the point is that most of the time you want to use this kind of handler in order to get every bit of a performance enhancement from using this technique. And make sure when you enter this that you include the extension ASHX, not ASPX, because this is not a web forms page. All right, now we need to add that handler. So I'll come back over to Solution Explorer, right-click, select Add, and New Item. And I want to select Generic Handler. And I'll give it that same script server.ashx name and hit enter. All right, it already exists, so let's go ahead and replace it. I already have one within the file. Oh, it doesn't allow me to. So let me go into Solution Explorer and just delete that file. All right. So I'll go back in, create a new file. Name it scriptserver.ashx and hit enter. And this time we got a new file. First thing I want to do is save myself a little bit of typing. So I'm going to use the AJAX control toolkit. Add that namespace. And now I need to change the contents of this process request. This is just a regular HTTP handler. All right. So I'm going to create a Boolean called succeed, and then use that in order to call the Tool Script Manager equals Toolkit Script Manager dot output combine script file and pass in the context object that was passed into this procedure. Then I'm going to check to make sure whether or not it succeeded. If it didn't succeed, then I'm going to throw an exception. And I'll use an invalid operation exception right there. And type in a message, combining scripts didn't work. And save my work. All right, you can certainly get more complex, but that's all I need to do in order to provide an HTTP handler to the control. All right, let me save everything, go back to my animation page, and right-click on it and View in Browser. Oops, there were errors. I did something wrong. New line in constant, empty character literal. It would help to add a semicolon there. And that's fine. Let me try again. There we go. And we get an error. Okay, let's see. sys.extended.ui. That's weird. Let's see. Okay, shut this down. And we have a delay notification. All right, so just everything is going wrong. Let's just switch to continue waiting. Okay. All right, so let's look. Error shouldn't have occurred. Here's the problem right here. I misspelled the handler. So let me change that to script server.as@AJAX. Okay, and I'll save it and view in the browser again. There we go. All right, the overall functionality of the page is the same. I'll go ahead and click on the button. Fades out, fades back in, and we have the time. But the important thing is in view source. And now I'm going to search the page for all of the instances of script resource. And as you can see, there are far fewer references to this because the Toolkit Script Manager has combined the scripts. The result is that the page is going to require less round trips and quite likely less bandwidth in order to display the information to the user. So it's just going to appear more quickly to the user and be more responsive. Now you might wonder why all of the script resources didn't go away. Even though it generally works well, script combining can have side effects for some kinds of JavaScript code. The Tool Script Manager will only combine scripts in which the author has marked them with a script combine attribute, which allows them to be combined. And most of Microsoft's scripts are marked that way, but not necessarily when combining can be dangerous.